age guide to raising your new puppy, or the puppy that you got during COVID that's now hitting a certain age and you're hitting certain difficult times. So I'm going to tell you age-wise what to do and what not to do with your dog. People call me all the time, and they call me when their dog's 6 months old because they all need this one thing. They call me 9 months old, they all need this one thing, or 8 weeks old, they all need this one thing. So it's different, okay? And people don't know what to do. So I'm going to help you out right now. So 8 to 14 weeks, this is what I call the baby stage, all right? People call me all the time at this age, usually around 12 weeks or so, and they're ready to roll. They're like, I want to get my dog trained, I want the best dog ever, and I have to be like, chill out, everything, you don't have to go crazy right now, okay? At this 8 to 14 week stage, what do you do with a baby, right? You just make them feel comfortable. You don't let anything traumatizing happen. You build a relationship where you're just close to them. That's really all you need to do at this stage. If you train your 12-week-old to sit, that's great, or your 8-week-old to sit, that's great. Doesn't mean they're gonna sit any better than if you started at 5 months, right? By the time they're a year, they're gonna sit about the same. You don't need to go nuts with training at this stage. What you do need to go nuts with is potty training. That's the big one for this age. Potty training, right? Watch my past potty training videos. That's it. You need to be hardcore. Potty training is a numbers game. You need to be reinforcing with treats when they go multiple times a day, all right? There's some nipping at the tail end of this period too. Around the 12, 13, 14 week mark, dog's gonna start to nip. That's really mainly in the next stage, okay? So don't worry about that too much. So that's really, and you don't need to socialize your dog that much. People are so into socialization. I was with my first dog too. I was like, I gotta socialize this guy. You don't need to go nuts with socialization. Even if your dog's a little nervous of dogs or of men or something like that, especially the dog one, we're not gonna do that much at that age. We're gonna wait a little while to see if the dog grows out of it and then start to work later on when your dog can be around other dogs. Okay, so just don't trip at this age on much, all right? Just have fun with your dog. The next stage is 14 weeks to 7 months. This is what I call the nipping stage. People call me and their dog is a terror. They're ready to get rid of their dog. I mean, it's just an alligator going after their kids. They got those little puppy teeth at the early part of this stage, and they're just nipping like crazy. They also have more energy than they had at the baby stage. So they're all of a sudden this dog that needs exercise and needs all this stuff. This is the stage around 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 weeks where, and definitely around 7 months, where you need to start to get your dog playing with other dogs. Not because we're super worried that they're gonna be unsocialized, although that's a thing, but that nipping stuff, when you get in with other dogs, they're gonna nip those dogs and they're gonna jump on those dogs and they're gonna do it less to you. Remember, this whole stage is like a nipping stage. You might also be doing some potty training, but it's nipping, nipping, nipping. And you got to get those little jaws working. Those teeth are falling out. The new ones are coming in this stage. Dog's got more energy. It's jumping. It's learned jumping, right? That's a big part of this phase too, is jumping. So you got to get them with other dogs. I call it the satiation method. Get them with other dogs. Super, super underutilized. They're gonna do the behavior, and we can train them with treats and with other things to not nip and not jump, but the satiation method is the best. Satiate them, make them full of, they've already done enough nipping and jumping with their friends that they don't wanna do it on that 4-year-old kid, okay? So that's the 14-week to 7-month mark. Jumping, nipping, getting them with other dogs, okay? 7 months to a year. This is the pulling your hair out stage. This is the toughest. 9 months, as I say, is the toughest time to own a dog. More people call me with their 9-month-old dog than anyone else. This is also, this 7 month to a year is the best time to train your dog. They're not a puppy, right? What I say about the baby stage, they can't really process a lot of information. They're babies. You can't, don't worry about, they're gonna, even if you train sits and downs, they might just forget them in their next fear period. So 7 months, you got to start training your dog. It's the best time to do a board and train, 7 months to a year, because they can remember stuff and it sticks and they don't have a lot of stages to go through where they forget it. So it is the toughest time to own a dog because they have the most energy. They're still jumping maybe, they're still nipping, but they have all this energy and they're full grown. And they get out in the world out there and they're not kind of nervous like a like a 4-month-old, they're all pulling and they're all excited and they're in a fear period. It's the worst fear period around this time. 7 months to a year is the worst fear period. Okay, what is a fear period? It means their brain is changing. So they'll walk outside and they'll bark at the wind into the trees. At 8 months, the next day when they turn 8 months or 9 months, and you're like, what is that? Why he's barking at nothing? It's their brain changing. Kids go through it too. Okay, so that is the 7 month to a year. A lot of exercise around this time. You can also start to do some knock it off, sit down, lie down, and some more dominant stuff, and some more when they don't come, you go get them. If my come method has a lot of aspects to it, but one of them is you go get the dog when they don't come and you grab them and you bring them back to where you ask them from. They're not going to get that at 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. They're not going to understand. Their brain isn't developed enough. 7, 8, 9, 10 months, a year, they start to go, oh, that guy's just going to come get me. I might as well just go to that guy. They can start processing this information. Their tiny puppy brain cannot. Okay, so start to be a little more sit down, and then when they go, no, I don't feel like it, push their butt down. Give them a little correction when they pull. Okay, it's enough. You're kind of a teenager. Okay, you're a 10-year-old. It's time to start being an adult. 10-year-old kid, I mean. Okay, and the next stage is the adult stage, which is a year to a year and a half. In this stage, a dog's an adult by a year and a half. They just are. Okay, their personality is almost solidified at a year and a half. It doesn't mean you can't bring me a 2-year-old dog that's reactive and I can't change them. It's way harder to change them than it would have been at 7 months, okay, a year and a half. You have to make sure aggressive dogs, aggression will start at a year for a lot of dogs. Okay, they're becoming an adult. One day they just become an adult, right? They were kind of growly and nervous of dogs, and you're like, oh, no. Or maybe nervous. You're like, oh, don't worry. At 1 year, they lunge, and people call me and they're like, what happened? I'm like, is your dog a year? They're like, yeah, how'd you know? Because it can change overnight when they become an adult. What's the difference between an adult and a child? It's seriousness. So your dog, sometimes these aggressive dogs, they get serious at about a year, right? Puppies in these other stages, they should be happy-go-lucky. Right? Then a year, they get serious. So that's when your dog, a year to a year and a half, is basically an adult. It's time to keep with the training that you started around this 8, 9 month age, okay, and solidify it. And be no nonsense about it. They're an adult. They can understand it. All right? You deal with your 18-year-old way different than you deal with your 4-year-old. I have 11-year-old, 10-year-old, 4-year-old. They're very different, all right? So hopefully that makes sense. That's your definitive guide to what ages to what to train, and the attitude that you have to have in those stages. And don't get ahead of yourself. Okay, just stick with this stuff. Don't worry about the stuff that you need to be worrying about at 9 months. Don't worry about it at 4 months, and vice versa. And remember, guys, click the subscribe button. I'll make more videos. It would help me out a lot. It's free. You can unsubscribe anytime if you don't like the content, but please click the subscribe button.